Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
And
We're back.
another show.
Randy Filio still.
It's like he needs to be wound up every time you say this. All right, I'm good now.
Yep.
I can go.
Yep. 1 minute. We're done.
I'm just wondering why the is that like a blade that you're? It's just in case I.
You guys got a sharp object near me. That's dangerous.
Hey, I wanted to start off today with the eclipse.
Yep. The song from Pink Floyd or the actual eclipse from yesterday. I'm glad I wasn't on the road. Let's put it that way.
Well, I was on the road yesterday, but I was on the other side of the traffic. So yeah, you should turn the mic towards you so they can.
And nobody wants to hear me anyhow. So
but it was on the way.
Where'd you go?
On Sunday we went to Boston because my daughter was flying in. We've had the grandkids since Tuesday of last week.
Yep.
And and so we drove down, and she flew in on Sunday night, and we I'll tell you, when we were getting on the highway, the traffic was backed up heading north. Heading north, 89 and 93. And then on the way back, we were again on the right side of the road because on the other side everybody was coming back, and it could have been farther, but what I could see is at least to exit 5, the traffic was backed up, heading back down South 93.
Basically, from what I read, it was backed up to Burlington.
Yeah.
It just
I
backed
heard that people couldn't get to their destination, so they just pulled over on the side of the road and watched it.
Yep. And then get stuck in traffic.
Yeah, and it's just like, and my thing I was in Boston, so they were in the 90 percentile. I don't know, it was the high 90s, but it was interesting. I had my glasses, so or I would be like this.
Oh yeah, burns on retinas.
But I watched it, and it was interesting, but it got gray, it didn't get dark.
Yeah.
Now my understanding up north, it got dark. But and my thing is, I'm cynical with all this stuff, is that the good thing about it, for all the people that really enjoy that type of thing, that's great. For me, it was knowing that I don't know how our winter revenues are this year, for the state of New Hampshire and Vermont too, but state of New Hampshire, I'm wondering if this helped our numbers this year. Because the hotels were booked.
Yep.
Up north, they were booked, and they were paying an arm and a leg for rooms. When
there were no discounts.
It's I get all this. It's supply and demand.
Right.
It's just gouging, and I heard at one place they were charging like $800 a night.
Yeah. Well, there's some people. Let's face it, your average person's not going to pay the $800. But I guess on the supply and demand thing, if you can get some wealthy family from Connecticut, New York to come up there and pay it, so be it.
Understood. Understood. But it's just. But if it generates revenue, my thing is, all right, then let it be. But
think what was busy, Chris, on the way up, because you have to, for the most part, coming out of Mass, and a lot of people from Connecticut, New York.
The liquor stores, drive-through liquor stores, literally. That's what they were saying. I was talking to my wife about it last night. They were talking about how traffic was backed up, literally all the way to Burlington, Vermont. Yeah.
I mean, it was traffic all the way there.
Yeah.
And I said, boy, I bet the liquor stores are making record revenue off this. And no sooner than I said that, they said there was not a parking space left at the rest area in the southbound lane.
Yeah.
And they weren't in there getting a tuna fish sandwich.
No, they're backed. They're actually backed up. They're backed up in that place. Yeah. And so it was just, but
Stocks up in the booze.
And all the glasses, that one-time glasses, that company that whoever made them, multiple companies made them. I get it, and now they say save them, repackage them, and send them back to us because we're going to be sending them. There's another eclipse coming, but it's not in this this side of the world.
Yeah, over in Spain, I think.
So, and so they're going to repackage them and send them there. I'm like, those guys are smart. They're going to repackage it, get all these back,
resell them,
and resell them. So
there was definitely money to be made off the eclipse. I was reading up in Upper Vermont, some of the smaller towns, and somebody had just read a small thing online today, and they were opening a deli.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to open it yet. They weren't quite ready.
Yeah.
But they were like, we're opening. And they just got demolished. But once again, they got the revenue.
They get the next 2 months paid off.
They're all set. But I was reading where a lot of people, thought they'd be smart and look at their GPS to take a shortcut home along the back roads. Yeah, that probably wasn't too smart because everybody was doing that.
Right.
They got off the interstate and got on a little back road, and that was it. And I was reading where people from Keene, 7 hours, to get back from Vermont. It's a long. One thing my wife actually enjoys being in traffic. She likes car rides. At Christmas time, how Island Street would always back up. She thinks that's great. It's Christmas Carol, stuck in traffic. I'm like just crushing the steering wheel. I hate being caught in traffic.
It's all fun and games until you need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, that too.
And then all the claws come out.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good point. But yeah, I'll drive 20 miles around to avoid sitting in traffic. I hate sitting in traffic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 93, 95, 89, all of them. But hey, somebody made some money. Good for them.
Yeah.
We drove to Robin Hood Park and sat on one of the benches beside the water.
Yeah.
And just
we were in
looked at our 96% coverage, whatever it was.
Yeah, we were in a playground in Boston because we had the grandkids still. So we just sat on a bench and they played while we watched and talked and watched and talked.
Yeah.
It was
kind of
nice.
cool.
It was nice, again, and it was right next to a what's it called? Shack.
I bet it was an eatery.
Shake Shack. I've never been to one of those. It was interesting.
Been there now though.
Yep.
Yeah. It's all good.
Kids liked it, so.
So everybody survived. Everybody made it back. But yeah, I was reading last night just how long it took people to get home, and I was also reading that up in North Country, a lot of people drove their electric cars up there. Well, a lot of people didn't realize coming from the cities, there's no chargers up in northern New Hampshire. They said there was like one charger in one of the towns up there, and there was like 40 electric cars, waiting in line to get charged because there was no chargers.
And those.
And they were caught in traffic, so they're using up some of their electricity.
Well, and here's the other thing: the push electric car. I mean, those batteries are heavy. Yeah. So just saying.
No, my last couple of years of my career there, sold a few electric cars, and right now, in years to come, the batteries will be more compact and lighter. But right now, yeah, you don't want to be pushing an electric car.
No.
Just abandon it.
Yep.
So yeah, that was interesting. So anyhow, what else is going on in the county, Chris? Anything exciting?
It's knock on wood. We're just
when you hear nothing, when you don't hear anything, that's usually good news.
We're just doing our business. Like I told you a few weeks ago, we passed our budget, and I'll remind the people that it was a negative 0.09% taxes to be raised, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, it's damn good.
But everybody's just doing their jobs, and we're slowly trying to get our census up at the nursing home to 110, so that helps everybody, especially the hospital out. So yeah, we're looking at some other projects out there, some things.
How's staffing?
Housing and things like that.
Staffing's still an issue, right?
Staffing's always going to be an issue for us, like it is for everybody else out there. The top three issues: housing, staffing, housing, and childcare. Yeah. If somehow we could come up with the magic solution to those three, we would be
all set.
We would. And in one of the things I think it is that we need to do a lot more advertising in the South, in tornado alleys and places that flood, and say, what are you doing?
Yeah. Smart.
Oh yeah. We have winter, but winter is nothing like it used to be.
Right. Winter here is like winter as they used to have.
So you can come, and we understand winters up here. You're gonna have to buy some tires that are decent. That's what I was saying to somebody this morning. I don't get it. I don't get it whether you live in the South or wherever. you now know, you've been forewarned that winter is everywhere, or sleet, or freezing, or whatever.
Right.
Get some tires that are appropriate.
Yeah, especially up here. You see it all the time. Somebody else just with a summer tire on. But you're right. And it's only a one-time investment for the most part. And if you put them on 4 months a year, it saves your summer tires that much longer. But yeah, I'll watch people just. I saw somebody this last little snowstorm that we had down off from School Street. They had front-wheel drive, just spinning away. Little summer tires, couldn't move. Little hill.
Yeah, I had to rent a car, and I had a choice between a 4-wheeler or a nice Saab 2-wheeler. And I'm like, I don't care if it's not a Saab, a Volvo type, vehicle. And I'm like, 2 wheels, and it's going to snow on Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Sorry, no thank you. Even though and that's the other thing. I told everybody that, that I, like, even my snow guy, I said, yeah, just come in and clear out what you need to clear out, but don't think you have to do a great job, because by tomorrow, it's a spring snow. By tomorrow, it's gone.
Well, the spring snow we just had, they said we got 4.5 inches. The ones that were really happy, you're right, with the plow people, because they haven't a lot of these companies do other things, during the summer, like lawn care companies. They make their money in the winter plowing.
Yeah. And
they must have been happy as hell to see that snow out there. Of course, like you said, if you just waited a couple of days, it would have been gone. But
yeah.
So, there we were shoveling snow a couple of days ago, and today it's going to hit 70 degrees.
Yeah.
And that's, getting back to what you just said, that's the selling point. Yeah, winters aren't as long up here either, at all.
No.
But now, have you worked with the Chamber of Commerce at all, with Luca? Get together with him and, recruit. Yeah.
No, we
get Luca coming on here in a while, don't we?
The 15th. He's going to be coming on.
Of May?
Or 16th.
What month are we in?
I think it's the 16th, actually.
Next week.
Next week.
Next week.
Yeah. So, I just need to see. Yeah, no, we're I mean, the county works with Luca all the time on all different types of things. And one of the biggest things is that we've
You know how you say that? As soon as you said that, I swear they spy. Greater Mid-Atlantic Collaborative Chamber of Commerce just pops on my phone as you and I are talking about them.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
That happens all the time.
That's scary.
Yeah. So no, we've been working on the whole promote the region.
Yep.
Rebranding, and I know a lot of times when people think of rebranding, they think of, we make it look prettier, the design, the this, that. No, the rebranding is how do we it really comes down to, yes, we're doing this, but we're also putting a lot of money into what you just saw. That we're that type of hit, type of making people aware that we're out there telling our story. We need to tell our story better. We have such a group of gifted people in this region that know how to do that type of thing. And there's a group that's been meeting for like 3.5 years now. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be something, and it's something that needs to be continued on for the next, I'd say, 10 years.
They have billboards, I believe, all the way down near the Connecticut border now, promoting the Keene area.
Yeah.
It's like stuck in traffic. Region, Stuck in traffic, come on up.
Yeah. Just a thrive away.
Yep.
Kind of thing. It's not just about tourism either. It's about telling the story about the college. People always, and I never understood this, and will never understand this. Understand the college. Understand what it brings to our community. It brings us so many opportunities that if we don't take advantage of it, one is the economic impact. These kids are going into our stores, whether they're national chain or not. Those national chains are employing local people. Or if they're doing local, if they're going to our bars, our restaurants, whatever it may be, they're helping those companies stay healthy. If we're not doing that type of work, then so that's just one aspect of it. Then it's talking about young couples or young people and what it can offer to this region, and then young couples. But it's also talking about middle-aged people or people with families in junior and high school in high school, about the magic of this region. And if you come to work here, there's all kinds of opportunity. And last but not least, yes, we're a graying community, but we have to recognize that in this day and age, people our age and older are working right through, on some levels, whether it's 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, but they're also volunteering, and they're valued members of our community. And so we have to tell our story to all those individuals. And so we've been able to, we helped by writing a grant with the when I say the Monadnock Collaborative, it is the Greater Chamber. And because a lot of people, that's what they know is the Chamber. And we wrote a grant, and they got an Economic Development Administration a grant for $300,000. Businesses were able to match that with another $100,000. So that's $400,000 that went into this project. We gave them $250,000, and then we from American Rescue Plan funding, because we needed to really bump up the work we were doing in our community. And then another $100,000 this year, and it's a matching. So we just got a bill the other day of companies that we hold on to the money. They of the $100,000, they send us what they've raised so far, the matching, and then we send them the match. And so at the end of the day, they will have a chance of $200,000, and we gave them $100 of that.
Cool.
And we're gonna hopefully we're gonna continue doing that, because we're not out of the woods yet. And there are counties and there's cities that have said, or in towns that have said, oh, we can't do anything right now, times are tough. I will tell you, that is, in my world of thinking, that is you signaling defeat. It is your step towards, you are bringing your community, whatever level that you're at, towards definite crisis, because you're not willing to invest at a time when you have to be actually thinking outside.
Well, there's towns in this county that, and you know who they are probably more than I do, being the county administrator, but whenever the city approaches them, and we've talked about this before, about 100 nights in the community kitchen, and asking them for contributions, it's always the same towns that go no, or we don't have a problem, we don't have homeless, all of that. It's a lot of the same towns that they consider it spending rather than investing into their own community.
But that's a different type of investment.
No, it is.
And my
it is.
my
but
thing
it's the same towns.
But my thing is you've got in Winchester, you've got a group over there, Winchester Economic Development Committee, who is trying to get off the ground
right.
in economic.
I know a woman on there that's trying to break the stigma of Winchester's had.
And over the last few years, they have had some good success. The distillery, the Outlaw Brewery, and there's other things that are happening down there that are exciting. But if they can get this businesses coming into this site, then that's a plus for everybody that's involved. Industrial, as you know, if you can create an industrial revenue stream, tax revenue stream, that is probably the one that's going to have the most impact on your tax bill.
Oh, absolutely.
We started that with Blackbrook.
Yep.
And it was,
a lot of people don't even. You say Blackbrook, Chris. A lot of people out there don't even know what Blackbrook is. That's the industrial park up off from Route 12.
You're right.
And you were on the council when I was on the council. That we actually invested money to put water and sewer up there.
$4 million.
And if you remember, there was a lot of naysayers.
Yeah.
No, it's a waste of money. Nobody will come. Almost like when we did the railroad land downtown. Same thing. Invested money, water and sewer. If you build it, they will come.
We didn't do it with CNS in mind. To be honest with you, it was
that was Smith. A wild card back
It
then.
was Smith.
That was a wild card.
It was Smith.
Yep.
They were looking at moving. They had a site down by, I think, where filtering is now, and
right, and
they were looking to move outside of the city, outside of the county possibly, and we came up with this plan. But we had another company that wanted to come in and couldn't find a site, and we had then there was a second and a third company that wanted to find a site on that property, and then all of a sudden, CNS said, we did try to come in here with our terminals. That didn't make sense because you're in a valley. We get that. But what if we brought our headquarters over here?
Right.
And we were like, yes.
We'll do that.
Yes. And look at what we've gotten out of that. Community partnership. Yep. Okay? And that's what this whole Promote the Region is about, telling our story of how we work together. so that you have a state-of-the-art hockey rink. Guess what? CNS was a huge contributor.
Oh, huge.
To
huge
that.
Contributor to
The
that.
YMCA, huge contributor to that.
Indirectly also, the Granite Gorge ski area, it's a couple of employees from CNS that have invested in it.
Yeah.
So CNS, not only are they our largest employer, but you talk about the monies that they've donated into buildings and ski areas. That does not come off the tax roll. That's not taxpayers aren't on the hook for that. Any dollar that they spend, they donate like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you remember, you just mentioned the ice arena. Remember that was everything's controversial. When we did the ice arena, it was like it's going to be such a waste. And now we need a second sheet of ice.
Yeah.
Because it's so full.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's just we are, and out of it, Keene State College is now going to have. They couldn't have done that if we had the barn. And when I say the barn, it's the Cheshire Fairgrounds had a hockey rink for years and years. If you're Townie, you've probably been there.
It was a barn. It was a nice arena in a barn.
It was a barn because they had horse stuff in there in the fall and spring and summer and all that. So it's Keene State College wouldn't have the hockey program they have that's coming in next year had it not been for this hockey rink. And so, it's about development.
They're going to have a women's hockey team too. And that's going to be
what?
Because women's sports have really taken off, especially the NCAA basketball. You see, and I've down and caught some of the Keene High hockey girls games, and compared to a decade ago, or they've come a long ways with women's hockey. I mean, I wouldn't get on the ice with them. Well, I couldn't get on the ice with anybody. I can't skate for crap. But you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, you can play goalie with us.
I was probably one of the best goalies ever to come out of Keene. I just couldn't skate.
Yeah, just don't put skates on.
I was a boot goalie.
Yeah, absolutely. Should still be like that. But anyhow, yeah. So, Keene Ice, perfect example of where you get local industries that contribute a lot to the area. And see, that's why you can't afford to lose local companies. You think of over the years the companies that have come and gone. Kingsbury used to be huge, investing a lot of money. Markham's, which is still there, but it's not Markham's, it's not locally owned anymore. The Putnams own it. They contribute a lot of money. It's so important to keep locally owned companies. Like if CNS, if Cohen ever sold, and moved, that'd be a disaster for Keene.
It's gonna. Well, the reality is that in this day and age, that there's a good chance that can happen at some point.
There is. There always is.
When you're one of the
look at Peerless Insurance Company over there.
Yeah, and it just grew to a point where there's bigger dogs out there that come in and say this is what we'll offer you, and you can't turn it down. Now in this situation, I don't pretend to know. I mean, I know Rick and Jan Cohen, but I don't know how they perceive the future. But it will be interesting as things move on in the next 10 years where CNS will come out of. I mean, they're, in the past, their president of the company has been flying in and out. They don't really live here. They don't have to because they have the jets that can fly them in and out.
Yep.
And
they certainly do. Every time, for the most part, every time you hear a jet over Keene, it's good chances one of CNS's.
Yeah.
I think they have 2 corporate jets down there now. So.
Right.
But yeah, and I just brought up Peerless, which turned into Liberty Mutual, which these big companies come and go. So it's good. We need a couple of major employers in Keene, but I'd much rather, of course, we can't lose CNS, but rather having a company come in that hires 400 people, I'd rather see 10 companies that hire 40 people. Because if one of them don't make it, you still get the rest of them.
That's the magic of Hannah Grimes. The entrepreneurship
small
center
companies
that they have there and what they've developed over the years is, in my mind, the future. These individuals that have a dream, that are getting support that they need to be able to develop this vision that they have, and that turns into, it may start out with one person that goes to 3, that goes to 8, and all of a sudden they're at 40. You don't know how you really got there, but you do. We received a grant now almost 10 years ago, and it was to help develop a program where individuals would go into the home of individuals that are at risk at out of district placement. Now the school board that you sit on has kids that are in placement right now. They can't be in the school district for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It doesn't. A lot of times it has nothing to do with the school. Most of the time it has nothing to do with the schools. The schools are able to deal with the child.
Right.
It's when they go home, the parents either, one, they're both working, trying to balance everything. One person's working, trying to generate enough revenue to keep the family afloat. Whatever the situation is, it doesn't matter. They need support and help. We were able to put that, it's called Connected Families New Hampshire. It started here. We said I was on the steering committee and I said, listen, the county's hosting this grant. At the end of 4 years, if we don't find a funding stream, it goes away. The county's not going to take it on unless we find a funding stream. So we met with the state of New Hampshire, Department of Health and Human Services. They were able to give us the funding we need, a daily rate for the individuals. And they liked it so much, they said, can you do it in this county, in this county? And they said, okay, yeah, we could do that. Now we're across the state. And this is something that started with one individual. By the end of this year, it's going to be 40. It pays for itself and then generates on top of that revenue that goes back to the tax base, the fund balance. And that's what you need to do in this day and age. And that's what Hannah Grimes does every single day. They create our future. And I really do believe we need to do whatever we can. And I know that somebody like Cody Morrison at Monadnock Economic Development Corporation understands that and is looking at ways that we could build that next building. That building that has the ability to have a company that needs 10,000 square feet. And there's 4 companies in there and it's 40,000 square feet.
Yep.
That's our next step for these companies. Look at Kenny Abbott started a company. It's over in Fitzwilliam, AB some. I can't. Mm-hmm. He started it out, and he was working in this little brick building, and now it's got this whole big building in Fitzwilliam that was empty because the company, that wasn't doing well or whatever the reason they left, and he's been able to go in and give a rebirth.
It's on Route 12, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Yep,
But those are success stories that we have to look at and figure out, and there's players in this community like Muskoma Bank and the Bank of Walpole,
right?
Savings Bank of Walpole, and those are community partners. That's all they really. That's their big thing is they want to help these small businesses thrive. And 310 Marlboro is another example of multi little companies in there growing.
Yep. And also, kind of coordinating with that. So you get these businesses, which are people and families, to say, okay, come to Keene, which a lot of people in New Hampshire, they only see the other side of Temple Mountain. Literally, if you live in, Connecticut, New York, whatever, companies are trying to get up here, they look at New Hampshire. We're kind of the forgotten corner. I mean, hell, even Concord forgets about us sitting over here in our little corner. Keene, for the most part, thrives, but you're right, Chris. We thrive because we work at it. It's certainly not because of location. You can be a town somewhere, what they call the triangle, over between Manchester, Nashua, and Portsmouth. You're going to succeed just because of where you're located. I mean, you've got the traffic, you've got the population. Keene, we're over here kind of with, you've got Lebanon, but they pretty much live off Dartmouth Hitchcock Hospital. I guess the town closest to us geographically and size-wise, I guess in a way would be Claremont, but they're closer to 91, but they struggle. And a lot of their struggles are self-inflicted. They haven't been forward-thinking enough over the years, but I'm not going to worry about Claremont. So when you look at Keene, when Hannah Grimes does it or the Chamber does, it's like, okay, you're going to convince some families to come to Keene, and that's why we're such a great community. It's like, okay, well, what does Keene have?
Right.
Sports-wise, no, we don't have professional teams, but we have the Swamp Bats. We have some great baseball in the summer. You've got the college sports team, which now are nationally recognized.
Yeah.
The hockey club team, which is now going to be a Division III team. The basketball team, which made it to the nationals. Even local high schools now all improved on their sports. So, you look at that from families with children or, young adults coming up. So you have your sports, outdoor sports, recreation. Mm-hmm. So people talk about, the bike trails that are out there. They're important to take care of. Entertainment downtown. The Colonial Theater is so important to this city. A lot of people don't realize it. You've got entertainment. You've got great shows. You don't have to drive to Boston. You still can. But, you can see quality shows at the Colonial Theater. And, of course, we have our nice downtown, So things don't happen by accident. And that's why I kind of point out Claremont. They should be thriving more than Keene does. They're closer to Lebanon. They're closer to 91. They should be a thriving community, and they're not. They're always stumbling. And it's kudos to Keene, to the county, to the schools, to the city, and to all the volunteers that really put their hand to grimes. It doesn't happen by accident. It's work. Keene survives because of work, not because of location, geographic location.
We're constantly trying to figure out when crisis hits, how do we get through that moment in time? And if we can see something on the horizon that we think, and also strategic planning on what the future holds, whether that's through a document or through discussion, we are constantly looking at what we can do, whether that's the city, the towns. There's so many, I see so many exciting things happening in towns throughout the region. Look at Swansea. Look at what they've done. Mm-hmm. They've really done some really good things in their community. And
Swansea, compared to, I'm not going to pick on the other towns in Cheshire County, but I'll give them credit, especially with housing. They haven't done the NIMBY thing. Of course, they have one thing about Swansea. There is a lot of flat, buildable land in Swansea.
Yeah.
Keene don't have a lot of buildable land left, flat land anyhow. Swansea doesn't, to their credit, because there's always a flip side of the coin. It's like, well, if you build it, they will come, but it also means you're going to have more school-age kids coming in, which raises your cost of your schools. But the offset is you're probably going to bring in more industry. You're going to bring in more revenues. So I'll do a little tip of the hat to Swansea as far as housing goes, because Keene needs them to build. If you're going to have industry in Keene succeed, the towns around Keene need more housing.
Bedford has succeeded for a lot of reasons, but the biggest issue for Bedford is they really understood that they are a bedroom community to Manchester.
Yep.
And if they built a strong school system,
you are correct there.
Then that they would have more people willing to move out to the suburbs, and because it's literally a few minutes,
Bedford used to go to Manchester West.
Goffstown, on the other hand, they're getting there. Bedford was much more aggressive.
And that's what I mean. That area, Chris, that just I guess west of, east of Milford, and then all the way to Portsmouth, then going up all the way to Concord, the triangle. There is no reason that any town should be successful. Of course, if you go back to the 1970, I think, Keene was the 5th largest city in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
With community-wise.
It's now what?
12th, 13th, something like that.
Yeah.
Because
Claremont's 13,000 people. It's not really close to what our size is, but it's the closest. Hanover. I would say that Concord's probably the one and they're bigger than us.
Right. Yeah. Concord's got about 40,000 now. Concord's almost double the size of Keene now.
Yeah.
But so Keene's population, we're a little over 23,000 like that. It's been about 10 years of the same population.
It's been forever the same population. You and I were young. We were about 24, 25,000.
We're still young. It's just all relative.
Yeah.
But you're right.
No, we're not.
Population of Keene's been the same forever. You need, and when your population stays the same, it means it's aging out too. So you need the young bodies to come in. We need the industries. We need high school kids to stay here. Yeah. But you have to give them. They have to have a job.
The deceiving thing is the numbers that came out the last time around showed that Cheshire County was losing people. What was factored in? I looked into the numbers a little bit, and what was factored in was the college. And when the college downgraded, their population,
it was skewed.
It reduced. It showed that we were losing, and if they just did straight us, that we were actually we were right where we were supposed to be in growing.
We gained a little bit,
but it wasn't as on the level that we need to.
Right.
We have more deaths than we do have births, and that's a problem.
Yep, it's about employment. You have to have places. The as far as living it, but you have to have employment. So when we talk about all these places, as you said, with the chamber, and you're talking about people down south coming up here, we've got to have the jobs to give them. Right now, those are over on the triangle part of the state.
Yeah.
But we need to create. You're right with the Hand of Grimes. You need to create these little places that start small.
Yeah.
Keene is not going to get the place come in that's looking for 400 people now.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You're a company owner. You look at it, it's like you don't have the workforce.
Yeah.
So we need the incubator companies, coming in here. So, but that's one thing great about Keene. That's why, I'm still here. You're still here. Born and raised here, and outside of living 4 years in an underwater tin can, this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So
I agree.
you want to make it better. So, yeah, kind of. We'll trend a little bit here, segue, because we've been babbling pretty incoherently, pretty well for almost 40 minutes now.
Yeah, but I actually think we've said some good stuff. Now,
Yeah,
others might feel differently, but we're talking about
whatever.
issues that really do.
It matters to Keene. What do we do to make Keene survive?
Yeah.
It can't. And I was driving through my old neighborhood, the North End, yesterday. Old neighborhood. A couple of houses, and sadly, I remember.
When you say the North End, tell people what that means. Is that Sullivan Street, Washington Street?
Yeah, it's basically north of the rec center, up Washington Street.
Yeah.
Yep. It kind of goes out to your neck of the woods, Gilsum Street,
Mm-hmm.
and then Washington Street, George Street, Sullivan Street. But basically, Washington Street, the heart of it.
Yeah.
And Roosevelt School was the heart of the North End back in the day.
Yeah.
Which now it's going to be housing, which is great. Repurposed building.
Yeah.
Excellent. But going through some of the side streets, and especially across from the old Roosevelt School, where I went to school, which is nice that it's going to be apartments. There's a couple of houses there that are just in disrepair. And I remember in elementary school some friends that lived there, and they were just nice houses. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing we need to do is get buyers in there that can repurpose, fix up these homes. And you do see some of the older neighborhoods now being built up and bought, which is great. You go through some of the side streets now, and you see people. Roxbury Street's a perfect example. There's some nice old homes down Roxbury Street that over the last few years, you kind of falling in disrepair. And you see somebody came in a couple times from out of town because they bought it for about $250,000, and in their town it would have been $1 million home.
Well, it's North and South Lincoln. You've seen that.
Yeah.
That's probably for me. That's North and South Lincoln Street are probably the two streets that show the rebirth of a neighborhood that was struggling at some points as towns aged out. And I credit Lincoln School becoming whatever it is today. I know it was Waldorf at one point. I don't know what it is exactly today, but I credit that as being the turning stone for that really helped give rebirth to those communities, because what I understand, a lot of individuals that have had students attending that school moved to that street.
Yeah,
which is good.
Yep. No, you're right. That's once again, your old stomping grounds. Some of those older homes, you're seeing them fixed up.
Well, and it doesn't, the work you all did with the park, Carpenter Field.
Mm-hmm. That helps greatly.
That helps incredibly so, and it just creates an atmosphere. I mean, even the American House,
mm-hmm.
That taking that building and restoring it and then turning it in and adding on to it to what it is today was huge. If we could just somehow at some point get the properties that's owned by that individual so that you all can then move forward and do, or somebody can do something with that property, I think we're going to be even that will change that whole area, because we invested in putting, again, I was on the council. This was in the last few years I was on the council. We invested in the parking lot, the dirt parking lot behind Cypress Street. Right. That's what it was a dirt parking lot where people knew you could park. If you were from here, you knew you could park there for free.
Yep.
And now it's got beautiful buildings on it. It's got the Co-op on it. It's got the Marriott on it. It's got other buildings on there. And then you put the basketball courts in. You've got 100 Nights down there. You've got all this other area, and that's helping that area.
Good segue, Chris, where you jumped on that, because we just talked about Carpenter Field on the east side and some of the homes being built up and having schools out there and having a nice park, which is huge, especially this summer when the rugby team gets going. And I'm looking forward to the rugby games out there because that'll draw a crowd.
Yeah.
And I got to work with them to draw crowds in. Let's do an event because at this point, the rugby team doesn't draw that big of a crowd. That's one thing that needs to be marketed. Come down.
They need to put a beer tent down there because I remember the rugby games. We used to host them in a house that I lived in when I was at Keene State.
Chris, we're trying to draw people and not scare people away. Yeah.
They used to have great parties.
Yep. Back in your younger day.
Yeah, they used to have great parties.
I wanted to talk a little bit about that because you talked about. The skate park's going to be going in soon. We got monies to tear down the building. We finally got a contractor to tear down the old Findings building. So, that's going to be a skate park there. A nice skate park.
I hope that we didn't cut corners on the skate park to make sure we have parking, because the skate park can be a real place. And I hope we do cement and not this wood structures with all.
It's going to be. To their credit, they raised some good money for that. Actually,
they did. Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
The city. There's always a city contribution, but the money for the dog park, the money for the skate park, the money for the frisbee park, locally raised money.
I think it's great, but it should be that. You all in the city budget should put money into it because we need to evolve as a community. And if skate park is something that kids can enjoy, it's no different than Wheelock Park having a pool. It's no different than them having a fields or little league baseball fields or tennis courts. What's the difference?
Well, there won't be
park.
No, it'll be. It's going to be the maintenance is going to be in the budget because Parks and Rec is going to have to help keep it up. It's just like
but to build it, if we cut corners because we didn't want to put money into
there's no cutting corners. They raised more money than what they thought they were going to raise. I'm not concerned about that at all.
I'm
really not.
I hope so because I've heard different, and I've heard that they were frustrated, and it's not it's just I don't know what is. I don't know. I just want I want the masterpiece that you guys have developed down there is something pretty cool.
Yep.
It really is.
You did a good job.
And this is one of the last pieces down there. And, and if we could get at some point Whitney Brothers is it Findings that owns the other side of there's the basketball court, then there's open land.
Yeah, I think
Whitney Brothers bought it from Findings.
Yeah, I'll have to check.
Because I know Findings owned it at one point.
Yeah, I'll have to check on who owns that back lot.
Because there's really not a lot you can do there except for make it look prettier.
That's it. Put out some
because it's going to flood.
Wildflowers. It's a flood zone.
Yeah.
Put out some wildflowers and make it look pretty.
Yeah.
But as I keep trying to allude to, as I get back to the east side, and you're on the board of directors for 100 Night Shelter.
Yeah.
Now, I met with the east side neighbors. They meet once a month. They have a neighborhood meeting. Kudos to the east side neighbors. Great. That's how a neighborhood.
You were going to tell me when the next meeting was, because I was going to just show up because
first Monday of the month.
Okay.
First Monday of the month at the American House.
Okay.
Usually at 6:00, but I'll make sure you're on the. I'll make sure you're on the list. But anyhow, this last meeting we had the director, the director of 100 Night Shelter, the new director.
Yeah.
Introduced herself, and
Becca?
Mindy, the outgoing director, was there. And kudos to both of them. Showed up, answered questions. New director, seems to be, right on board. The neighbors expressed their frustrations, what they've had. Mm-hmm. But it's working out. I know in the beginning it wasn't pretty. Growing pains, a few speed bumps in the road. Sometimes you get blamed for everything that happens when some of it's not your fault. I get that too. But it's working with the neighborhood. It's going to blend. They're blending right in. I know when there's going to the spring cleanups coming up. Is that this weekend? A couple of spring cleanups coming up. And I know 100 Nights is going to be volunteering people to help with that. That's what you do.
Yeah, I think the misnomer down there is, though, when I went to the first Blastos meeting, the first meeting in the Blastos room.
I was there.
Right. Majority of the people in that room were there because they live in the community, live there,
right.
But they support what 100 Nights was bringing forward. They were there so they could learn more and start developing that relationship. Yes, there was a few people that were angry about certain things that were happening. Some of them outside of the norm of here's the thing, like they wanted us to put in bathrooms. Well, we have bathrooms that people can use during the day, but it's the city should be putting in the bathrooms, not us. We have bathrooms in our facilities that people can use. They have that thing, but those are things that people just didn't know. And by the end, there was only a few people. It was a YIMBY meeting. Yes, in our backyard. It really was.
No, it went well.
Takeaway. It was the take. That's the takeaway I had. There were some people that there was a few people that were NIMBY, but most of the people were people that had just real concerns of people that had mental health issues, people that were showing up, threatening them, whatever it may be. I don't know if they're part of 100 Nights or not, but we need to listen to that. And I appreciate if what I'm hearing that Becca and Mindy met with them and continue, that's the dialogue we need to continue to have to turn that all to YIMBY.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely. I always say silence is never an option because all that does is do finger pointing.
I agree.
So, kudos.
I agree.
Kudos that they showed up. You got to talk together. It can't be over the radio show or on Facebook.
You can't. You need to be able to, if you're 100 Nights, you need to be able to hear them. People sometimes, especially in this day and age, can say the cruelest, or say it in the most harsh way possible. You need to understand that there's some level of fear in that conversation, and they need to work. You need to walk them through those fears to see if you guys can find common ground. And I'm hoping that with Becca has that personality.
Yes, she does.
And I'm hoping that she can continue those conversations.
Yep. No, having met with her, I think she's going to be a great addition to 100 Nights and a great spokesperson. Yeah. Because 100 Nights is, the way it's come along. Let's face it, there was no set direction. It was just kind of, it worked its way together, and it was where it was. It got large, and now having the new director in there, nothing against Mindy,
but no matter where you put that facility, I mean that was the third parcel of land that
that's definitely going to be a NIMBY issue.
No, but that was the third parcel of land that they looked at, and there was always an issue of something, and a lot of it had nothing to do with 100 Nights. There was the yoga studio, behind. Over by Jake's, that gray house behind the apartments that just were built up on the old Keene Middle School's soccer fields out there. And there was another site, I can't remember where the other site, but for whatever reason, those didn't happen. But this third site, Tom, I can't remember his last name, but Tom's Garage or whatever it is, he was great. He wanted to do whatever he could to help make this be a success. And making a reality, and worked with those people that led the purchase of, and then the build out happened, and then the fundraising happened, and hopefully everything continues to work to move forward. Homelessness, sadly, is not going away.
Nope.
And sadly, on some levels, the burden of it happens to be where the services are, and the services are here in the city. Whether it's about the Nanock Family Service, 100 Nights, Community Kitchen, and other services, in the community, Cheshire Medical, whatever it may be. This is where it's all right here in the city of Keene. So there's a burden, that is put on the city of Keene. I get that. I don't know what the answer is to all of it moving forward, but I get that there's a burden, and I speak openly about that.
Well, I think the Mayor Khan has met with the other mayors of New Hampshire a couple times now, and trying to implore the state to get involved more, that the hubs of the counties, Keene, Concord, Claremont, Nashua, we're taking it on the chin cost-wise, and we just want more help from the state. It's like, yes, the problem's not going away, and, I get it. Some of the towns are like, we're all aware the towns quietly tell the people, go to Keene, you'll be fine. It's like, okay, you're right. Where more of the services are here, they're going to be attracted to the area. But the state can't keep, turning a blind eye to it, which that's how the state operates anyhow.
But they can, because it's not. They can, because they will always find a reason.
Yeah. So good for Jay Kahn and the other mayors, Republicans and Democrat. They all have something in common. Now, hopefully, they can get the governor, which he's been resistant, and the legislature, who's been resistant.
Where's the bill? Didn't you guys put some money forward
to do something? Yeah, $600,000.
I thought it was closer to 900,000.
Yeah, probably up there by now, but it was $6. I believe it was $6. I'll have to go back and look. But it's not going to be a one-time thing if things don't change. And part of it also was, Chris, we had a lot of people living illegally on people's properties behind Hannaford's, behind Coles. They were trespassing, and the property owners wanted them out. Well, they got to go somewhere, and now we're putting some of them up into hotels, which cost money.
Yeah.
So
which also gets to the as it's going to be interesting to see if your costs go down in the summer. Now that campsites are starting to get ready.
Well, they'll pop back up again. There's going to be illegal campsites.
But there's going to be also campsites.
Legal campsites.
Legal campsites, and that's a lot of the families. That's what they do. They try to save money because they can for 2 weeks at a time, and then they jump to another camp and they map it out. I've talked to families. They map it out. It's incredibly sad.
It is.
But, and this one family I remember talking, the mother works during the day, the father works at night, and that's just so because they had some younger kids, so somebody always had to be there kind of thing, and it's just how it worked out. So the mother gets home in time for dinner and put the kids to bed while the father's with the young kids. As they go into school, maybe they can, that's what they were looking towards, getting normal hours, but they knew this is what we had to do, but they still weren't generating enough revenue to be able to afford an apartment.
I know that's the highest demand right now, talking to Mindy and the new director, and you being on the board. 100 nights, it's families. It's families that are looking for places it's one thing if it's a single guy. Single guys will find a way to survive. I mean, I'm not saying it's a great way to do it, but they only have to worry about themselves. But if you're the breadwinner for a family, I mean, that's tough. And I know, I know they're talking about that's the toughest vacancies to fill is for families. And 100 nights gets that demand for families.
Yeah.
Of course, there are a lot
we only have so many beds that were allotted. Do we have more room for more beds? Yeah, of course we do. But we only have, so many. And to receive state money, which you have to have all kinds of different
211 system.
That means that you have to say if you have an available bed. Doesn't mean you have to take somebody,
right?
But you have to post that, and it's very infrequent. Even though the stories have been said, because I actually asked what the numbers were, and it's very infrequent that there's anybody outside of the city, the county as a whole that takes that room. There's very, very infrequent. They can push back and they can say no, and that's what they've done.
Right, and I think now, since everything's hit the fan here over the last couple of years, especially, I know there's a better relationship with 100 Nights and the city manager. I know there was some friction. You get that, and you're right. It's a 211 system. A room becomes available, you put it on the 211.
Right.
But I know there's better communication now with 100 Nights and the city manager if a room is becoming available, because if Keene has a family in a hotel, which is expensive, and a family room is going to open up 100 Nights, the Keene family should have first dibs at it.
Yeah.
But that takes better communication, and I know that the communication's a lot better right now. So I guess the bottom line is with 100 Nights, the communication and things are a lot better right now. The early tensions, I think, have been resolved from what I see. And like I said, going back to the East Side neighbors, having a meeting once a month and inviting them, that's great. Because once again, you got to be in the same room talking.
Yeah.
So that's going well. Yeah, geez, Chris, we only have like 2 minutes left. We've babbled pretty good. There is an opening on the city council if you live in Ward 1. It's about to open up.
Where's Ward 1 cover?
It's basically down Marlborough Street, and then if you go down to the airport.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of picture that quadrant.
Yeah.
That's Ward 1. It also encompasses, a good chunk of Keene State, and where a lot of the Keene State students live. Is in 1. And I met a young man the other night. He's in school. He he was a student of one of my son's classes. My son teaches law at Keene State, and he's going to put his name in. He's a junior. He's going to put his name in for the city council position as a college student.
I think that'd be great.
So I talked to him
because
the other night.
Is he in the middle of a 4-year term, or is it 2 years?
It'd be a 2-year term basically. He'd be finishing out
Raleigh's.
He'd be finishing out the first half.
Because he'd
be finishing out the first half. So just under a 2-year term, he would be filling out. He hasn't formally put his name in yet because the opening's just about to formally open up. But I did speak with him the other night, and I joked with him. I said, all the council will be glad to give you information if you ask, but if you want correct information, speak to me.
Yeah.
So, there you go. So he is going to put his name in, and good luck to him. I mean,
is there other people when's it open?
I believe, what's the date? I believe this week or next week. Then it opens up. It'll be open for 2 weeks,
and then they
come speak to the council for a 5-minute little, why I want the position.
Yeah.
But the good news is you can run for council. You don't have to go out and knock on doors. You don't have to buy signs.
Yeah.
You literally just have to speak to the other 14.
Yeah.
It is good though if they talk to some neighbors and the neighbors call the city councilor and say, "I'm vouching for this person."
Yeah.
But no, he seemed an articulate young man. Well intentioned.
Yeah.
And loves Keene. He moved here. I think he said Dover. I think he's from Dover, and he's been here and he loves Keene. So we'll see. I know there's a couple of East Side neighbors that were thinking about running for it.
Yep.
But we'll find out. So anyhow, if you live in Ward 1 and you did we just run out of time?
Oh,
did that just go to 0?
Yeah. We're
out of here.
Have a great week.
Have a great week. Run for city council.
I thought you said 2 minutes, and it was like.